So there's a quote that I really appreciate, and it's from Blaise Pascal. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And it goes like this: all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room. And so this video, I want to talk about the lost art of sitting. And the idea for this video was sparked when I recently went on a walk and I was reading a book on a bench, and next to me there was sitting an old man, and that's all he was doing. He was just sitting there, nothing else. He didn't have a book, didn't have a smartphone, um, or anything to listen to or read. So he was just sitting there and looking and watching. And so after a while I asked him what he was doing, how he was doing, and if he comes to this bench regularly. And it was just a short conversation as I was about to leave. I just had to ask him because it stood out to me, this not doing anything. And his response was that he's just sitting, that he just enjoys sitting. And I was amazed that this old man was just sitting there. I mean, for me, I always try to wrap these things into a context of meditating, contemplating. But for him, it was just that. It was just sitting, just being with his thoughts, no distraction, observing, just being present. And he didn't need a framework like meditation or contemplation with which he can explain his behavior. It's just normal for him. And so I realized this within myself a lot, that I always have to do something. And even sometimes the state of non-doing, like meditation, which is a daily part of my life, kind of. For me, it is still something that I do, even though it is a non-doing. And so I realized that it is so important to not do anything. This was something that I heard another YouTuber once say. It's that we're not human doings, we're human beings. And so often and that includes me, we're so focused on doing, achieving, getting stuff done, that we're completely neglecting to just be, to just sit. And so after this encounter with the old man on the bench, I tried to implement just brief periods of my day where I would just sit, where I would just have no distraction, no phone, especially no phone, nothing, just sitting. And this sometimes is very uncomfortable, especially in times when I feel I have to do something. And I realized this is the moment, or this is the cue for me, where I know I have to practice sitting when I feel like I have to do something. Those moments where I'm just frantically going from left to right and I feel like I have to, I don't know, I have to do something. It's like this urge of accomplishment within me. And I try to take this state as a cue, as a reminder that I don't have to do anything. That it's just time right now to be a human being and not be a human doing all the time. And so then I just sit down. And sometimes I just set a timer for 5 minutes, and it's just that, it's just sitting. And I really try to have no ulterior motive when I sit down. Whatever happens, happens. If I follow a thread of thoughts into one direction, then that's what's going to happen. I try to avoid ruminating about negative things and these things that are obviously unhealthy for us. But other than that, I don't really have any restrictions. Just try to get really comfortable. I also don't focus on, okay, I'm meditating now, so straight posture, shoulders back and down, straight spine, chin to chest. I don't do any of that. It's just sometimes I just slouch on the couch and I just allow myself to be comfortable, to just experience the sensation of non-doing. And coming back to the quote, all of humanity's problems stem from man's, or of course woman's, inability to sit quietly in a room. If you're really honest with yourself, when was the last time you were just sitting quietly in a room without distraction? No phone, no nothing. It was probably when you were in a doctor's waiting room and you forgot your phone. And you remember how uncomfortable that can be? This moment of just having to wait? I mean, we as a society, we are terrible at waiting for something. I mean, sometimes I I get annoyed when my Amazon package is not there the next day. You know, like I'm like, I have Amazon Prime, you know, I don't like waiting. It's supposed to be there on the same day. It's Prime Day delivery. And this is just ridiculous. I mean, when I remember being in India and I observed sometimes the cafe owners, they were just standing there. They didn't have a phone or anything, and there was nothing to do, no customers. They were just standing there, maybe following a fly or just, I don't know, looking at the sun. I don't know. They was just not doing anything because their brain is not, I don't know, screwed with all this overstimulation that we're having these days. And this is basically what it is. We're overly stimulated 24/7, accumulating nonstop these samskaras, this yogic term of impressions that we accumulate in our lives and in our day, and that disturbs the clear surface of our consciousness, that makes it ripple. And if you throw a pebble into a sea, you see those ripples, you cannot see clearly anymore. You cannot see your image of you clearly reflected back upon you. And that's the same that's happening when we're having a lot of impressions coming into our brain all the time. It's rippled. And this is, of course, reflected into our brain waves. The calmer our brain waves, alpha, gamma, theta, delta even, we're just a lot calmer and able to see clearly. But when we're stressed and have, I don't know, try multitasking, even though we're not really able to multitask, we just switch very quickly from one task to another, we become anxious. Cortisol rises, adrenaline rises, or we have like a high beta brainwave activity, and we're just like in the frantic kind of state. And this doesn't feel very nice, and in the end, we're not very productive doing that anyway. And though sometimes when I am in this kind of state, when I am just running around and trying to, I have to do this, I have to do that, it's difficult to come from that level to do meditation. There's just that much of a big gap. Like to bring myself from here to here is sometimes not manageable. I just can't do it. And so I think this is where this lost art, how I call it, of sitting comes in. It's just like this in-between stage. Sitting is comfortable. I mean, back in the days when we didn't have that much comfort in our lives and we were having a lot of manual labor and things was just a lot more physically demanding, just sitting was a pleasure. I mean, these days where sitting is called the next smoking because we're overdoing it. And we're not doing it with the right intention, we're not doing it to rest. A chair was a luxury item. These days I try not to have a chair in my room. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is we don't always have to do meditation. We don't always have to have an ulterior motive when we do something, we practice something. And it's just allowing us to just be and to practice sitting without distraction. And you'll be surprised from what state of mind you can get in by just sitting. When you get over this first 1, 2, 3 minutes of discomfort of your brain being like, where's my stimulation? Where is my stimulation? When you get over that stage, you're just flooded with just calmness and GABA and all that. There's this calming neurotransmitter in your brain, and dopamine is released because you're not overly stimulated and you just feel nice, you feel calm. And from this kind of state, you just, I don't know, you just feel so much better. And life becomes so much easier. And you just get this clarity of that you don't have to do anything. And more likely than not, after that, you'll be much more productive than before. So now I challenge you, right now after this video, you pause it, put your time on your phone on 5 or 10 minutes, and you put it away. It's not in reach. Flip it around so you can't see the screen, don't have any distraction, and you just sit down, get comfortable, stare at a blank wall, whatever, and just be. Don't have any intention of doing anything. Just surrender in a way. Surrender to what's going to happen, and then please let me know how it worked or what you felt, what your experience was. Very curious to hear about that. All right, namaste.